Had like 3 different guns and valve trains and rapid prototype parts. We can take it apart or just grab crap willy-nilly. Thank you much. All right. So this is the J4 Torque. What it is a stacked tube spool valve gun. So just like any other stacked tube gun, mind you, this will be Delaware, they ran out at the machine shop. Any other stacked tube gun, just simple pull pin, pull it out, clean out the barrel, swap it, whatever you need. In the bottom though, instead of a poppet valve like you get in most stacked tube guns, we get a spool valve. So this also doesn't work like any other spool valve as well, in that air gets put in from the back, goes through the spool, and fills up the whole front of the gun. That's nothing but dump chamber. There's no regulator, no LPR, nothing. That helps make the gun feel nice and light. There's no LPR at all. High pressure regulators under the grip. So to fire the gun, what happens is we disconnect the supply air and we connect the dump chamber to the rear of the piston. That drives the piston forward. This valve clears this O-ring clears the valve and it fires. As the dump chamber pressure drops, this spring is able to return the piston back just enough to close off the dump chamber. So what happens is you trap about 50 psi in there, just like a well-tuned poppet. So you get the efficiency and all that good stuff. So then what happens is you wait for the electronic to weld to time out, and then this vents and the supply air turns back on and it returns. So that also does a couple other really cool things, because now we have a gun that does not require, it's not dependent on electronic dwell like a normal poppet would be, so you get that aspect of the spool valve. So the other cool thing, and this is where in my spiel I'd normally grab a rapid prototype piece that was in half. This actually comes in half. There's a bolt here and a bolt here that holds it together. It has eyes much like a Mini, so there's the circuit board that goes underneath, and there's also a spot for a Hall effect sensor. So then what happens is we put a magnet in the bolt, so now the gun knows where it is and it's cycling. So, Morse code, nice. Somebody just laid on their beeper. So then what happens is the gun knows where it's at, and we can ramp dwell without affecting velocity. So you can set it up so that way, first shot drop off, it's cold out, whatever, all that stuff gets taken care of by the electronics of the gun, and you always get your nice shot at 275 or whatever you want. So yeah.
So how does that, when you're shooting, how, because I know that a lot of people like spool valves because they're a smooth shot, so it's not so much moving mass going back and forth. And then with a poppet, a lot of people like that because they're getting air efficiency, but they generally tend to be louder. So having a spool instead of the poppet, is that affecting?
You get a little bit of both worlds.
Okay, so it's kind of in the middle then.
Yes. So efficiency-wise, the mechanical mule that we had running, it would get 1,600 shots off a 6845. So that's basically in between a spool and a poppet.
Yeah.
And mind you, that was a mechanical prototype, so it wasn't very well tuned, like the springs and things. So we're hoping we'll be able to get a little more, but yeah, who knows, right? And also some of that has to do with your dump chamber here. So like, let's say you want to have more recoil, you want to actually, you know, that's also at 160 psi. Okay. The solenoid and everything will operate up to 200 psi. So let's say you want to have more recoil. Well, throw a devolumizer plug in there or something. You can turn the pressure up a little bit and you're good to go. Or likewise, let's say you're playing indoor and you need to, you know, get the velocity down, same thing, throw in a plug. Or you can put a smaller volumizer or bigger volumizer, run an even lower pressure if you're shooting super brittle paint. Other thing is that a nifty feature of like dwell ramping, that can be turned off. So let's say you are shooting super brittle tourney paint, or the tourneys are douchebags, whatever reason you're not allowed to, you can turn that off. You can run anywhere between about 8 to 30 milliseconds, and that runs pretty flawlessly. So yeah. The mechanical valve gun, it actually felt kind of like a cocker, because what would happen is when you'd hold the trigger down, it would cycle. And it was cool because it would go forward, it would shoot, and then the pin would sit right about there, and you could kind of move it back and forth, but there was still pressure in the system. But it wouldn't actually return until you let off the trigger, so you had this like reverse cocker feel to it. So yeah, it felt interesting.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's that. You guys are welcome to.
So how much longer do you think before these are going to be out on the market?
So 4 to 6 weeks until we get our next 10 prototypes that we can give out to like stores and fields for testing, as well as we're going to release pricing information, because we'll have actually made some, we'll know how much they'll cost. And then from there, it depends on how many get ordered, is the short answer. So if, you know, we only say get 500 orders, well, we should be able to turn those out in, say, 4 weeks or so. But if we say get 5,000 orders, well,
you might get the first 500 out in 4 weeks, but...
Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, when you start talking bigger numbers, lead times on every little, like, screws, you're like, oh, screws, yeah, well, you need, like, 15,000 of them. it's a little harder to get them that next day. So
yeah,
it's one of those things that we'll just have to see. Because like that's the thing is like the Shocker when it first came out, they were thinking it was going to sell.
Which one?
The very first one.
Okay.
Or not the shoebox. The first. The first
one they got.
The 2003.
Yeah,
304
or 4, somewhere in that time frame.
So long ago, I feel old now. They were expecting to sell like 800 the first month. They sold 8,000 in the first month. Yeah, they had a bit of ramp up time on that one apparently. But, so yeah, that's that.
So I missed the beginning of that. Like,
oh well, how about